President Frederick of the Institute of Certified Public Accountants, members of the Institute, fellow participants, ladies and gentlemen. I know we have had a hitch in starting, but this is about technology, and as we get along, everything will be sorted. Let me first thank you so much for inviting me to address you on this 25th annual conference. Are you hearing me?
Yes, we are hearing you.
Thank you. So I wish to thank you for your efforts in the fight against this pandemic of COVID-19. I know many of your organizations have made substantial contributions in cash and kind to the National Task Force, where I am a member. I also know that the organization has invested in implementing many standard operating procedures in your individual offices and in your lives. I also know that individually you have complied with SOP requirements. Nevertheless, let me use this unique opportunity to encourage you to wear a mask. At the PSFU, we have a project to cover Corona, wear your mask. Whenever you are in a public place, please protect yourselves. There is a quote from Ma. I want to share it with you. Ma of Alibaba. He says, let me see whether I can find the quote. He says that for people in business, 2020 is really just a year for staying alive. Don't even talk about your dreams or plans. Just make sure you stay alive. If you can stay alive, then you would have made a profit already. So that is the challenge that Ma, the head of Alibaba, is talking to us. We must stay alive. When the statistics come and they are counting them, make sure that you say, I am present. The spread of the COVID-19 and measures to contain it have continued to affect our country with implications on social and economic welfare of the population. As of today, our country has registered 17,667 positive cases, and these are people who have tested. 168 are reported dead. 8,611 have recovered, and 3,000 are under quarantine. This is a very serious situation. And somebody is telling me that out of every 10 Ugandans, 2 are definitely having COVID. Now that's a big percentage. These changes are going to affect our economic performance in the population. Already the Minister of Finance is noting a serious slide in poverty. All this implies the demand for goods and services, which was low pre-COVID, is going to reduce even further in the short and medium term. The implications which impact on the operations of our economy are very negative, both on jobs, loss of jobs, reduced profits, constraints on cash flow, and generally a negative impact on business. Henceforth, companies will find it very, very hard to adhere to obligations to creditors, including extending dividends to the shareholders. At the government level, there is a projected reduction on tax collections. This is serious because yet the needs of government expenditure are growing. We are opening more districts, we are opening more cities, we are opening, we are having a big government. This means that the government will seek to borrow more to cover the gaps. From what we hear, we already know the government is planning to borrow about 4.3 trillion from domestic market during the coming year. Besides having a big risk-free customer, the government using commercial banks to borrow, this is going to show a shock in borrowing. The URA, of course, is going to introduce new harsher measures to collect taxes. So business will see more tax audits and aggressive tax collection methods, which are likely to make it life very hard for business and very uncomfortable for individuals. This simple message I want to pass to all today is, it is not business as usual. And this makes the topic this morning, which you are giving me, value creation and sustainability during and beyond COVID-19 pandemic, even more appropriate. I decided when I thought about it that I have a passion for oil and gas, and I wanted to take this opportunity to share with you my thoughts about oil and gas. And I know that if I have an opportunity to address you on oil and gas, I will reach people that I really always want to reach. So I beg the organizers to allow me to address you on the issue of oil and gas. But before I do that, let me just make some conclusive remarks about the topic that you had wanted me to share. And that is, let me go to the recommendations that I think we need to make. Let me, first of all, as I said, allow me to make those recommendations following to ensure that there is a supportive business environment and ecosystem capable of supporting value creation and sustainability. What is required of the organizations? Investment, we must invest in technology, including artificial intelligence, to increase efficiency in our operations. Business is unusual. We must encourage skilling and reskilling of workers to fit the new demands of society. Even when you have a farm, you must have seminars with your farm managers. You must educate them about even how to, if you are in dairy, how to mix silage. You must invest in standards, health and safety systems. As I will be talking to you about oil and gas, there is no way you can get any business, even as an accountant, if your standards are not up to scratch and acceptable. And if health and safety systems are lacking, you must improve corporate governance. And this is where your organization is very, very important. Also, better governance will attract and offer opportunity for capital raising, whether debt or equity. Now, you must increase investment in ICT systems such as enterprise resource planning systems and people to increase communication efficiency, accountability, and reporting financial and otherwise. It must start innovating and implementing mechanisms that promote working together, such as cooperatives, lead farm structures like we are encouraging at PSFU, consortia, etc., to create efficiencies, but also secure needed specific and compete for business. We must increase our professionals, such as lawyers, accountants like yourselves, to drive value creation and sustainability. All these changes, all the systems of import substitution, value creation, cannot go without the work of accountants. Nobody can grow their business without accountants and professionals in every aspect. Government has also to rethink its strategy. They have to think about improving citizen participation in policy making, accountability, and provisions of goods and services. Government can no longer go it alone without private sector. They must enact laws which increase local long-term savings mobilization, which they have not done. They have to make they must make capital available. Uganda just builds houses all over Kampala, but they never ever use banks. We have no mortgages. They have the amendment to NSSF Act is key on this. You see Tanzania, NSSF in Tanzania has grown savings that they don't even borrow anymore, because NSSF is a big contributor. You think about it, NSSF is reaching only 600,000 Ugandans in a society of 40 million, 45 million. So this saving story is a joke. We must change our tax system from one aiming at revenue collection to one that supports development. You know, think about it. We are having challenges now with these tax stamps. We are growing cassava in the villages, say for example, in the Teso region. And Uganda breweries and Nile breweries are buying this cassava. Then introduce tax stamps and you ask government to be the one to collect taxes from companies using tax stamps. Why can't government pay for those tax stamps? Now it is affecting and impacting on the cassava growers. And because of that, the breweries are not buying the cassava as they should. And the people who are growing the cassava and starting a starch factory are going to remove growing cassava and go back to other growth. So we have also to think about changing the tax system. Government has to promote policies and programs that enhance social safety nets as resilience towards COVID, towards floods, towards locusts, etc. So I want to thank the Institute once again for continuously organizing this type of events, which you have done in a situation like this, which has affected our future, this COVID-19 pandemic. At this juncture, please allow me to take you through my favorite topic, the oil and gas topic. I think many of you have heard the story of oil and gas in Uganda. It would be wrong for me to have an opportunity like this and not share with you my passion and the opportunities we have on oil and gas in Uganda. This is the time, at a time like this of COVID, at a time when oil prices have collapsed. At one time, they almost hit $20 a barrel from 120. We are now around 50. But this is the time when everybody is running away from oil and gas, and all the players in the industry are not investing in oil anymore. In fact, they are selling their assets. For example, Tullow, which discovered oil and gas, has sold to Total. But we were lucky that Total had deep pockets, as one of the 5-7 sisters, to be able to buy the interests of Tullow in Uganda. I just want you to know that Uganda is in an exceptional position. When nobody is investing in oil, somebody is investing in oil in Uganda. The history of our oil exploration now, I must tell you, goes back to 1890, when Captain Lugard, saw the oil ships in Bunyoro at Butiaba when he was visiting during their colonial time. Yes. He saw the oil ships. In 1938, a company, Anglo West Europe Limited, owned by the British, which came from South Africa, drilled the first well in 1938. And in 1939, the well was successful, but the World War broke out. And thank God, our oil was not exploited, because we would have got nothing out of it. All the value would have gone to the colonial powers. By the time they got out of the World War, Uganda got independence. Uganda was not capable of going into this type of business. And it was only in 1985 when the World Bank gave us money to carry out an exploration. In 86, a day after the President Museveni took power, he invited people in Central Bank to tell him how to get the oil. And he started training Ugandans, because he didn't want to go into oil business without training Ugandans. By 1987, the focus on capacity building started. And he sent out a lot of Ugandans to study abroad on oil and gas. And the people like Kabagambe Kalisa, Arvondo, now head of ICPAU, Petroleum Authority, the current permanent secretary, Mr. Kasandi, all those people were sent for training, and many others, and they came back. Uganda now has a capacity of close to 200 trained professionals. So the story then started, and in 2000, I think it was in 1997, when Heritage Oil got its license, and Hardman got a license in 97. Same time, Hardman Resources from Australia. But in 2006, Hardman found oil in Mputa Well 1. And when this oil was struck in 2006, in 2007, Uganda had national prayers. We had a holiday to pray God and thank God for giving us oil. Shortly after Hardman discovered oil, by the way, when Hardman was here, they approached me as their lawyer and made me president of their company. And shortly after I became president of Hardman, Tullow bought Hardman in 2007. And I stayed on as president of Tullow in Uganda. So the story of oil in Uganda, really, I started with it. That's why I have so much passion. And when we did that, then we created the Chamber of Mines and Petroleum. And that was meant to bring awareness about the opportunities in oil and gas in Uganda. And we have been doing this. In fact, if you have been observing, in the last 3 months, we've been carrying out a program on sensitizing Ugandans in the media with NBS, sensitized on oil and gas opportunities for 90 days, which end tomorrow. But I'll be closing that tomorrow. But we have spent 90 days trying to drum up and making clarion calls to Ugandans to be ready to participate in the opportunities of oil and gas. I would like your institute, please, to be ready to sharpen your pencils, because nothing will happen without accounting for any business that wants to be involved in oil and gas. I am throwing some slides for you to look at. I will not go through them in order to save time. But that is the story of where our oil is, the overview of oil and gas. We are now sitting at 6.5 billion barrels of oil equivalent in place, and we shall be recovering so far using the current technology, 1.4 billion barrels. And that's quite a lot of money because it's like 50% of our GDP. We have gas as well. We have only discovered 40% of where our oil is. 15% of the 40% has been licensed to Total and to Sinop. But we have other sedimentary basin opportunities in the Moroto-Kadam Basin in Karamoja. The overview and the status of our oil is there on that map, which I hope you are seeing. There are 9 production licenses which have been granted. We shall be pumping 230,000 barrels of oil per day from those 9 production licenses which have been granted only. We have also given licenses to 2 companies, Oranto Petroleum from Nigeria and Ama Petroleum from Australia. We have signed the host government agreement with Tanzania. We expect FID of final investment decision to be by December 2020 and by Total. And that will make a big and a huge difference because it will bring direct investment in our country. To date, we have received about $4 billion invested in Uganda. We're expecting to get about 15 to 20 billion to be invested in the next 3 to 4 years. Think about it. We've never received such an investment in the history of our country. I think the biggest investment we got was the investment in Karuma, maybe 1.77, $1.5 billion. We will be getting 15 to 20 billion in 3 to 4 years. This is unprecedented. There are massive opportunities in the for primary investors, that is exploration companies, opportunities in secondary investors, that is service companies, contractors, tertiary investors, subcontractors, and those in the service industry. The commercialization plans are already ahead. You probably know all these things, but you know that in the upstream, we have to have 2 central processing facilities. These are huge industries that separate oil from sand and water. We have to build a refinery of 60,000 barrels per day. Uganda is today consuming about 30,000 barrels per day. The rest will be sold to our neighbors. We have to build a crude pipeline to Tanga, which will be pushing about 190,000 barrels of oil per day from Kabale in Hoima. People say Kabale is in Kigezi. No, this is Kabale in Hoima, where we are putting an airport and the industrial park. and we are having to do a lot of roads. So we are turning these barrels of oil finally into billions of dollars. We will have to use some of the electricity, the gas we have. We shall build electricity from gas. We shall also use gas at our iron ore fields in Kanungu. We will have that crude oil refinery, which will separate and give us natural gas, and also the development of petrochemical energy-based industries. The crude oil pipeline we built, Tanzania port, is going to be in the area of about $3-4 billion. So the opportunities are in the field developments. There are going to be about 450 wells planned to be drilled in the next 3 to 5 years. In that area of only the 40%, and in the 15% area that is licensed. The two processing, central processing facilities, one will be producing 190,000 at Tereng, and another one 40,000 barrels at Kingfisher. This is going to be run, the Kingfisher one will be run by CNOOC, while the one of 190,000 will be run by Total. There will be 250 kilometers of infield flow lines and feeder roads of about 150 kilometers. This will all be tarmac roads in that area. There will be an oil field crude storage for tank facilities. About 390,000 barrels will be put in that storage tanks at Tereng, and 90,000 barrels will be stored at Kingfisher. There will be a lot of work, as I said, estimated at $15 to $20 billion. I'm rushing through these slides, but I want to just whet your appetite so that you know the opportunities are available. We have ring-fenced through Parliament and through the President's approval. We have ring-fenced a lot of business for Ugandans. There are about 16 specialized areas which I have thrown now at the screen. And all of these, each one of them need accounting services. Let me take it to the next slide. And this one clearly shows you how you are going to impact on our society. These are the 16 ring-fenced services reserved for us. And it is important to drum this out so for you to be able to understand the importance and why really I wanted to speak to you on this topic. From transportation to security to food, beverages to hotel to human resource management, office supplies, fuel supplies, land surveying, clearing and forwarding, locally available construction materials to civil works, to communication, to water, to management, etc. All these are reserved for Ugandans. Ugandans are free to invite foreigners to join them, as joint ventures. But the whole thing is that it is all based on your services. Next slide. The opportunities in Uganda are simply overwhelming. And I just don't want to take more time in hammering all these, but these are the challenges we have, and you are going to play a significant role. There is no, I have a feeling that your association has not noted the importance you are supposed to play. This whole story comes if we can work together, the accountants, the lawyers, and we are going through one organization, the Chamber of Mines and Petroleum, because it brings us all together. You meet the suppliers, you meet the contractors, you meet the subcontractors, you meet the oil companies, you meet government, and the opportunities are immense. I am asking you to sharpen your pencils, to find out, to belong to the Chamber of Mines and Petroleum, and to be able to network and to speak out so that the government policies cannot take place without our influence. I want to thank you. I want to thank you, Mr. Serebe, for the work you are doing with your association. Frederick, thank you so much. God bless you. Thank you for inviting me. I want to take this opportunity to open your conference, and I hope that you will have a good time exchanging ideas and making our country a happy place to live in. Thank you. I hope you heard me.
Yes, we have heard you, but David, you are not on. We are not hearing you, David. Mr. Serebe, you are not on yet. We don't hear your voice. We only see you on the microphone. I guess you are saying thank you so much, Honorable Karuhanga there, but it should come from Serebe. I think his microphone is getting a problem there. David, we're not hearing you. Control Center, please just make sure that David's microphone is on so that we're able to hear him.
How about now? Can you?
Yeah, now we can hear you.
Okay. I do realize where the hitch was. Thank you, Dr. Karuhanga, for a very enriching address. The etiquette of keynote speakers is that they are not discussed. I want to request Dr. Karuhanga to allow some discussion from participants, a few remarks, questions, and so on. If you agree, Doctor, we could have a few minutes of discussion from the participants.
With greatest of pleasure.
Okay. Can we take, because I've been looking at the chart didn't have comments. If anybody wants to make a comment now, they can raise their hands, because the chat has had many thanks to the doctor. And personally, I want to thank the doctor for reminding the Institute about the enormous opportunities that exist in the oil and gas sector, the Institute and members. Let us actively engage in the sector, because it's the sector that is to boom in this country. So let us all try to benefit from the boom. Anybody with a comment? I don't see any hands raised.
David, there are questions in the Q&A area.
Okay.
The panelists, there are questions there.
I may need technical assistance from.
Can I voice them out for you?
Please do.
I see a question from anonymous attendee. It says the presenter should comment on the crude oil sale we had and read about in the papers. Uganda is ranked amongst the top 10 suppliers of oil, yet the authorities deny it. And the second one is we have put so much hope in the oil. However, the global price of oil hovering about $45 to $50, half of what it was in 2014, 2015. And with the election of Joe Biden in the US, is there still a future for oil? I think those are the two that I see there.
Okay, from the anonymous attendee, he is saying that Uganda ranked as the 10 top suppliers of oil. I don't know whether in the world, I don't know where, but that we have been selling oil. Can I make any comment? Yes, it is true. We have bought crude oil, which has been stored, which we were pumping from the fields when we were testing the oil flow rate. In other words, how much we had to measure the pressure of the oil from the wells that had been drilled. And that oil which came out, at first we did the flaring, and I did attend the first flaring because the option was to flare that oil and burn it in the sky. In 2007, when we found that oil in Mputa, we went to flare it, and like they do in West Africa. I went to attend it. It was an amazing sight for me. First of all, I didn't know that oil is like that because they organized the flaring. We were kept a few kilometers away from where the flaring was going to take place. When the pressure of oil came from the ground and went up into the clouds and it was flared, I could see almost the whole cloud was burning. It was like looking at what we knew was hell. So Uganda decided that for the sake of our environment, we must never do any flaring of our oil. So whatever they got, they packed it in drums, a lot of drums, and I think they probably got up to, I don't know how much, I can't remember the figure right offhand, but they kept this oil in ground. And in fact, we thought that they were going to sell it to companies like Hima, where they could use it for power generation. But they didn't, and they've been keeping it. I doubt that they have sold it, but Kenya sold theirs, and maybe Uganda could have sold, but I have not checked on it, but it has nothing to do as an oil export. It is what we had got for testing that I think, kept. And maybe we should have sold it at the price when the price was so high, which is now going to lead me to Mr. Ayota's question. Because he is asking me whether with Biden's coming into power, oil will be any more useful because the price for oil might even go down because he doesn't want to encourage the use of crude oil. Believe it or not, Mr. Ayota, the truth of the matter is that oil is here for a long time. We are not yet about to start seeing the production of other resources to pump the world economy. I think in your lifetime and my lifetime, we are going to be still requiring a lot of oil. And Uganda will definitely benefit from oil. The prices for oil is going up. So we are now, but